like to talk about next is this idea of protecting your peace. It's tough. It's not always easy. And we talked last time about being 100% you, about being authentic, and the courage and boldness that it takes to step into who you are with authenticity and pride and power. And one of the things that we need to do in order to be authentic is to set boundaries and learn how to say no. I see that. I see people. And it is so hard. So I get it. I hope I can offer a nugget or two that you might be able to take with you and use either in your personal life, with your family, or with your work. Because I think especially as women, I think we've been trained that we have to do it all, and we have to be perfect and make sure that everyone around us is happy, which again makes it harder to treat yourself. So you see this little spiral that we're in, and or you might prefer the analogy of a hamster wheel where you're just running and running and running and feel like you're not getting anywhere. What I think I'd love for you to remember is that saying no and setting boundaries does not mean that you don't have empathy. Saying no and setting boundaries does not mean that you don't care or that you can't do it. It means that you're prioritizing yourself and what you need. So I really like this visual because you can be resilient and need a break. Yeah, thank you for taking a picture. I love that drink for us. You can be really independent and still need people. You can be kind and have boundaries. In fact, they should go hand in hand instead of be polarizing ideas. So this reframing is to say, you can be all these things and you can be something else. I also really like this idea of others have it worse, which is such kind of a tough thing to hear. If you've ever been talking with someone and they're like, it could be worse. Oh, that's like a kick right in the guts because it is dismissive of you and what you're going through. So let's just try to take that out of our vocabulary when we're talking with other people. And if someone were to say that to you, you can either address it or you can remember that your pain, your experiences are valid. What you think, what you feel, and what you experience matters. Significantly matters. And if you make a mistake, or if you do your best, that's great. And now you probably learned more from that experience. You learned a thing or two about what you might do differently. So I really love this idea. And I hope if you'd like to take a photo of it, or if you'd like to, whatever you need, I just think it's so powerful because I'm a bit of a linear thinker at times, and remembering that there's these two dichotomies is really refreshing for me. So let's talk a little bit about saying no and setting boundaries. What have you tried? What's not worked? What do you recommend? Let's talk about setting boundaries either at work or in your professional life. Give me an example of something that you've done. And maybe it worked and maybe it hasn't. Yes, Mary.
Well, I did work for over 5 years for another solopreneur.
Yes.
And she, being a PR person, it's almost like being a press secretary. You're almost on call all the time. But, I mean, not always. But anyway, so sometimes she would call me like after 6, like up till 9 p.m. And I'm like, I would have to remind her,
Yes.
Hey, work should stop at 5.
Yes.
Unless it's an emergency. If it's an emergency client thing, okay, you can bug me, but so I would have to put boundaries up about that.
And how were those boundaries received?
I mean, it took her a little while to kind of conform to that, but I mean, sometimes it was an emergency, and I'm like, I'm pretty flexible anyway because I'm a workaholic, but
yes.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, she ultimately conformed.
That's great.
But,
so what I hear you saying is you had to set boundaries with another solopreneur that you were working with, and you were consistent in reminding them, I don't know, but they're pronouns, reminding her about those boundaries, and you stayed true. It could have been easy for you to be like, oh, yeah, I'll just do it, but I applaud you for saying, like, you know what, if this is an emergency, I'm going to need to get back to you tomorrow.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, like, sometimes I'm trying to make my swim class here.
That's right.
Swim is important to me.
Treat yourself, Mary.
That's right.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. What else? That's so great. Thank you for sharing. I mean, food and bev.
Yeah, I'm horrible at setting boundaries. No is not something that's normally in my vocabulary.
Sure.
Honestly, probably the biggest thing that has been a boundary setter for me, not necessarily something that I have, well, I did do it. I birthed my son, and he is my boundary.
Yes.
Where normally, the owner of the restaurant, who I manage multiple businesses for him, he can be very demanding and he can be very mannish.
Sure.
And so there is no boundary for him. When he wants it immediately. It needs to be like, you know, on the drop of a dime. And I still very much will just jump when he tells me to jump. But there are times when normally I would have absolutely just, okay, sure, I'll, you know, work all through the night and not sleep for 48 hours to make sure that I get this project done for you by this time. Now my son needs my boundary where I say, nope, I can't do that. So not necessarily something that I've done in a healthy way, but my son is my boundary. That's where I say, sorry, I can't.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. And whether it's swim class, a child, a family member, a significant other, or yourself, those are all great reasons to have boundaries. So I applaud you for leveraging your child in that way. And I mean that as a compliment. They deserve to be, you know, we should use them in that capacity. Yes!
100%.
Yes!
You do lots of things for them. That's the least they can do.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Now, in finance, in the financial world, how do we set boundaries? What's worked? What maybe hasn't? In terms of either with your clients or with other people you work with? Either one of you.
Well, I guess I can speak on that a little bit.
Sure.
And then probably apparent to some other people in here as well. I think when I first started my practice, I allowed text messages and emails at 10, 11, midnight that I would respond to.
Sure.
Because I felt that I needed to, because I was starting, and if I didn't respond, the client was gonna go somewhere else. Sort of mentality, so not allowing that to be my response
Yes.
was the boundary.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. So what I hear you saying is choosing to not reply to text messages, emails, phone calls beyond a certain time is a hard choice.
Sure.
Right? Because we're in such a we've come to a digital age where everything's immediate and people expect an answer so quickly. And for us to say nothing is communicative. For us to say, I got your message and I'll respond tomorrow is a different way. But then you open up the opportunity for them to reply back, and then you're like, ugh. Yeah, so sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. To acknowledge it and say, I'll get back to you. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So I think that's great that you were like, you know what, after a certain time, similar to what Mary said, after a certain time, I'm not interested or not able to address this. That's very important. I love that. Anything for you, Andrew?
I would say that I have a pretty steadfast rule with everybody, and that rule is I will not care about your money more than you do. So your effort that you get from me will be reciprocated based off the effort you give to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think when we talk about empathy, there's this idea of caring and showing up for other people and making them feel really important. I really appreciate what you said, though, about not caring more about the work than the people you're serving or assisting, because we can drive ourselves into the ground as business owners and high-achieving professionals because we want to do great work. We want to show up for the people that we work with and we work for, or that work for us, and we want to show up for our clients. So for you to say, I care, I do care about you and your finances, to the level, and I'll match the level that you care. I applaud you, that's amazing. Has it helped? Like, how has that helped you?
Yeah, I would say that I guess I've been in the business now long enough that I have everybody pretty well trained, for lack of a
Yes.
better word.
Yes.
So they get it. If
Love that.
you wait until the last minute to respond to me for something important, then you will not be surprised when I don't get right back to you.
Sure.
That is, it's a parity, I guess, is the word that you use. There's parity in the relationship.
That's so good. Thank you very much for sharing. I appreciate that. That's great. All right, I have a couple suggestions for you that may help you. When it comes time to saying to someone, I cannot do that for you right now. Or if, let's say you're asked to complete a new project, a new task, and it seems like it's going to be big, you can say no. You absolutely can say no. And if you do that, there's a way that you can do so while respecting them and respecting yourself. So let's say someone that you work with is asking you to take on a project and your plate is already heaping, like a Thanksgiving dinner plate. There's all sorts of things on it and it's overflowing. What I suggest is to first define your role to that person. Remind them what you do in that organization, and yeah, that might fall within your purview. And then you can say, I want to help you and my plate is completely full, so I won't be able to provide the level of work and expertise that you're used to from me. And you can say, I need help. So when you say I need help, you can give that other person the resources that they need. So you're not just dumping it on them, but you're saying you might give them a file that you use. You might give them a presentation, a Word document, a manual. You give them some sort of tool to help them finish the task. And then you might say, well, here's what I can do to help. I'm not going to take on the whole thing, but you might say, here's what I can do to help. I'm going to give the other person a resource to help them finish this task. So again, you're saying, I recognize that that falls within my purview, and my plate is full, so I can't commit to that right now. Here's what I can do to help. I can give this tool, whatever tool it is that you might need, to another person on our team or to someone else and say, here's what I use, please take it from here. That's a really powerful strategy when you have more than one person working for you. If you have no one working for you and you're a solopreneur, one of the things that you can do, let's say a client wants to hire you for something and you already have all the things, your plate's full, you have no room for any other people in your workflow. You could say something like, I'm so honored that you want me to be part of your journey. I do want to help you, and my next available opening for a client is blank. So you're saying, oh, thank you so much, I'm honored, I want to help, this is my next available time. Or this is what I can do now. I can give you these questions to think about, I can give you this homework, work on it, and in 3 weeks I'll circle back with you and we'll really jump into things. So it's giving them something to say, either, here's my next available, or here's what you can work on now, and then we'll circle back. In either of those situations, protecting your peace, setting that boundary is so helpful. Not always easy, because we want to help everyone and we want to do all the things, but we will just be miserable and we'll be in the dumpster that's on fire real quick. We don't want that. Now let's say someone has, this side over here is about having tough conversations. Has anyone ever been interrupted or disrespected at work? Anyone? Yeah, everyone's hands should be in the air, right? When that happens, it's easy for us to think, oh man, I wish I could say this, right? What's in my head? There might be some choice words, there might be a couple gestures associated. Rather, I offer these two ideas. if someone's pushing back on you and they're like, well, I don't think that's a good idea, or I don't wanna do that, I imagine in the finance world, you have people being like, I don't know what to do, I don't think that's a good idea for my money. You're the experts. Same with PR. Like, you know the magic and the wizardry. I'm sure it applies to FME too. I just can't think of an example. So when you're the expert, a client or a customer is telling you that they don't want to do it, or they have this different idea and you know it's going to be a disaster, you can say, I hear you, and I feel strongly about this because, and give an example. Maybe it's a previous experience, maybe it's falling back on some of your credentials, what you've seen and heard in your work, or maybe it's directly affecting them. I feel strongly about this because based on your current portfolio, this has to happen in order for you to achieve your goal. Or, again, I hear you, and I disagree with this statement. I'm not saying I disagree with you. Notice the difference? I disagree with the statement. It's not even your statement, it's the statement. Or this statement. It takes them out of it, it takes the blame out of it, it takes any kind of finger pointing out of it. I hear you, and I disagree with that idea or that statement because, in my experience, investing in X, Y, and Z traditionally leads to blah, blah, blah. Aren't I great at financial acumen? So anytime you're coming up against someone who is not on the same page as you and you need to get them on the same page, these phrases can be really powerful. And again, you're not placing blame, you're not making them feel bad, but you're saying, I hear you, or I feel strongly about this, and here's why. Any questions about these ideas? Whether it's about boundaries or having difficult conversations